How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a special weekend edition of NoDQ&A video right here on youtube.com/NoDQ&AW. And as always, NoDQ.com, your source for the very latest in WWE and TNA. You can submit questions for NoDQ&A video at formspring.me/AaronRift. On that note, let's get right down to your questions. This first one comes from Chili Willy 90. Hey Aaron, two questions. Number one, what are your thoughts on the 1/3/2013 hype on Impact and what could it mean? Second, in 2013, who do you see as a world champion in both WWE and TNA? Please answer in video. If I had to take a wild guess, I would say that the 1/3/2013 videos are leading to Sting's triumphant return to TNA, and I think that Impact will begin the build-up to Lockdown, where it'll be Aces and Eights against Team TNA, led by Sting, and that'll be the big Lockdown Steel Cage main event. That's just my prediction. I got another question here about Sting. Will he finally appear in WWE, or will he return to TNA? I just don't see him going back to WWE at this point, and I think the likelihood is that he will be back in TNA, and he will return to get revenge on Aces and Eights. That's what I see happening, at least. And as far as who will be a champion in WWE and TNA, I assume you're talking about world champion. In WWE, I think Dolph Ziggler will finally win the big one in 2013. He'll be the world champion, or even WWE champion, but I think world champion's more likely. And in TNA, I could see Austin Aries getting it back. Maybe James Storm will finally get it. Well, he already had it, but for a short period. I could see James Storm getting a longer title run. But one guy I do see getting the TNA title in 2013 is AJ Styles. They have this storyline going on right now where he cannot compete for the title again until 2013 Bound for Glory. So I think that'll be a big storyline, and AJ will finally win it late in 2013. But you never know. I mean, TNA has built up to things and then changed plans. One thought that Bobby Roode was going to win the TNA title, and then he ended up losing to Kurt Angle at Bound for Glory. So, I mean, you never know. All right, this one comes from Scrappy. What is the status of Mark Henry, and do you think he will return at the Royal Rumble or sometime following? Mark Henry is due back at any time now. He should be back in the near future, and I think the Royal Rumble would be a great place to have him return and build him up as an entrant in the Rumble. Maybe show some videos of him training and getting ready, and he's coming back. He's going to try to win the Rumble. Just something to make the Royal Rumble more special. Not just Mark Henry, but bring back some other guys. It's always cool to have old stars return for the Royal Rumble. That was always one of my favorite parts of the Rumble over the years, was seeing legends come back for one night and try to have one more moment of glory. So yeah, I'd like to see a lot of stars return. But yeah, it would be a great way to bring back Mark Henry, definitely. Hey Aaron, love the show. Thanks for that. Do you think, in your opinion, that anyone will break Ric Flair's 16 world title reigns? From Michael in Wyoming. I think it's inevitable. I mean, there's plenty of time for it to happen. And with the way wrestling is today, titles change hands so many times, although CM Punk has the longest reign in 25 years. But WWE has definitely gotten better in recent years, at least in the past year with CM Punk, in terms of not changing the titles all the time. But I think it'll happen eventually. I mean, at some point, I could see WWE going back in the direction of changing the titles all the time. And, you know, you have guys like John Cena and Randy Orton that are getting up there and getting close to Ric Flair's record. And if they stay healthy and stay in the business for several years, I mean, it seems like a very good possibility. You say wrestling in the 80s, early 90s was PG and it was great, so fans shouldn't complain. But isn't it true you can't go back to PG after Attitude Era? Not saying bring back Attitude Era, but they can't go back to being cartoony and corny either in today's culture. Thought. Well, I don't think WWE is quite as cartoonish as they were in the 80s and 90s. You have to keep in mind that wrestling has and always will be something that is catered to kids, and it's something that's going to attract kids. I mean, let's face it, it's two men in tights getting in a ring and pretending to hate each other. So it's something that just naturally will draw in children. Children will want to watch it. It's not, it's not all that intellectual. It's not something adults are going to be watching for the most part. I like to call wrestling. I like to compare it to comic books, and it's it's over the top, and it's just fun. It's action adventure. It's theater. Wrestling. We all know that it's fake, that it's worked, and you don't just want to watch two guys in tights, just two plain guys get in there and wrestle each other. It's boring. You want to see over-the-top characters. You want to see, these larger-than-life characters going at it. It's like seeing Batman versus the Joker. These two over-the-top characters, and they're very animated, and they're larger than life. And the same thing with wrestling. You want to see guys like John Cena, superhero-like characters, and you want to see things over the top because it's fake and you want to be entertained. It's all about being entertaining. WWE's entertainment. And as far as being PG or being edgy, I mean, the Attitude Era, I mean, that was the time period. You had the Monday Night Wars. WWE had to do something to compete with WCW. And one thing they could do that WCW couldn't do was push the envelope because they weren't under the Ted Turner umbrella, the Time Warner umbrella. They could have more creative freedom, and that's what they did at the time. But now, there's no reason to risk alienating sponsors and getting sponsors upset. So WWE tones it down a little bit. They're a business. They're going to try to draw in as many people as possible. And I've said it time and time again. It's not about how much blood there is or how much profanity there is. What it's about is just having good creative writing. You can tell a good story and still be PG, but the problem is that the writing more times than not is very simple and doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it's just not well done. So if they could work on the writing and improve the writing and just tell good stories, it doesn't matter what the rating of the show is. This one comes from Hampalicious. Hey Aaron, do you honestly see any of the guys being future stars in WWE like Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston, Sheamus? Outside of Punk, Cena, and Orton, I can't see one person carrying a company ever, and WWE only seems to sign B-listers these days. It worries me. I've said this before. There's no way to really know who the next breakout star will be in WWE. You look back to somebody like Stone Cold Steve Austin. When he first came in as the ringmaster, you just don't know who will catch fire with the audience. You just don't know. With Steve Austin, he was the right guy in the right place at the right time, and he had the right character. He came across the Stone Cold character, and it caught on. So any of those guys, I mean, even Kofi Kingston, you just don't know. One of these guys could come up with a new gimmick or say something or do something that catches on with the casual audience, and he could just break out of the pack and become a huge superstar. Anything can happen. This next one comes from Batman6934. Is there any possible Rhino return to WWE? Well, it's always possible that he could come back and maybe be a trainer or have a backstage agent type of role. But as far as coming back and being a regular superstar again, I think it's unlikely because WWE's trying to focus on new talent and they're always looking younger. They want young people there. They want to create new stars. So yeah, I mean, maybe, I mentioned earlier about the Royal Rumble. Maybe you could bring back Rhino for the Rumble as a surprise. That would be cool. But him being back full time like 10 years ago, how he was 10 years ago, unlikely. This one comes from Crayon4810. Do you agree that a lot of matches from the 80s and 90s, especially WrestleMania main events, had predictable outcomes and finishes? So why does WWE worry so much about being predictable these days? Going back earlier with the Attitude Era, I mean, times change, and you have to change your product with the times. In the 80s and 90s, you know, you didn't have the internet, and you didn't have to worry about spoilers, and it was pre-Monday Night Wars, so there wasn't that necessity to move the product really fast, and you know, you could have long-term storylines and not worry about results being leaked out as much. Today with the internet, you know, WWE is very conscious of storylines leaking out on the internet, and they don't want it to be out there what's going to happen. They want to try to keep things unpredictable. But the key is to tell a good story and have twists and turns. I mean, this goes back to the earlier question too about the writing and all that. You really have to a good storytelling. You can have it be unpredictable, but still have it make sense. And you know, the problem with like Vince Russo is that he tries to do swerves and make it unpredictable, but in the process he completely ruins the story, and the story ends up making no logical sense. So that's the key. I think for WWE to improve their product, it really comes down to the writing. This is from JY619. If John Cena beat RVD at One Night Stand 2006, what do you think the fans would have done? I think the fans would have sat there and taken it, to be honest with you. You know, fans say if Cena wins, we'll riot, but Cena wins and they keep watching. So there you go. This last one comes from Blazin' Hayes. Seeing how The Rock will likely defeat CM Punk at the Royal Rumble, how do you see him fitting into the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view? I think it all comes down to The Rock's schedule, and he's really busy with movies in early 2013, so I think that it's a long shot he'll be in Elimination Chamber. I think he's going to be really busy, and we're probably only going to see The Rock a handful of times between the Rumble and WrestleMania. I mean, I think he'll make a couple of Raw appearances, but I don't know if he's going to be at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view just because he's going to be extremely busy with movies. But if something opens up, then I think it'll be a possibility. Alright, that'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A Video. Subscribe, youtube.com/NoDQCAW. Spread the word on Facebook and Twitter. And I'll see you next week for more NoDQ&A Video.